Hi friends, my name is Molly. How are you? If you're someone who is starting off with yoga and you want to dig deeper into that beautiful practice into yourself, this is a perfect video for you. Yogic books are such a beautiful resource you could use. First of all, because not everyone has access to this teacher who is going to show you the way. And books help because they were composed by so many generations of teachers of that wisdom that you get to just have in your hands and read it and apply it. These books, they provide you with very logical explanations why it's important to practice yoga, as well as that guidance of how to continue finding that depth within yourself, finding that depth within the practice. I'm going to start with my first read, and it's 4 Chapters of Freedom. It was my first ever book that I read on yoga, which was to say the least overwhelming. So this book was written based on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and this is also a beautiful book to read by itself. However, the 4 Chapters on Freedom, they come with a commentary, more interpretation of these sutras, and it's literally just like little sutras, and I read 1 or 2 and I'm already overwhelmed when I just read this book because it just contains so much power that I have to think about it, and I can't just read it casually. This was the first book that I started with and I loved it. 4 Chapters on Freedom was great to just understanding of the traditional part of the practice and how ancient it is, how powerful it is. When I feel demotivated or I feel like I lose the thread of my, dedication for yoga, I pick up this book and I feel like it quickly reminds me of why I'm doing this, and it inspires me. I feel like this is what a good teacher does. They inspire you, they contage you, they explain you, they have answers. You won't always be motivated, you won't always understand why am I even doing this. You'll forget easily. So it's important to remind yourself daily of why you're doing this. If you're maybe looking for something more relatable, more modern, and something to also start with, one of my favorite reads right now is this book, The Yamas and Niyamas. And this is, I feel like, is a perfect start for you if you're starting yoga, because one of the first yogic principles is to practice yamas and niyamas, which are yogic ethics. And I feel like this is something that I've always struggled with. You get certain ethics, morals package from your parents, your conditioning in your life, but I feel like you also get to decide what kind of person you want to be at some point. And yamas and niyamas is where these ethical principles of yoga come in handy. I'm not going to lie, this was very overwhelming to me because there's so much depth to each of the yamas and niyamas. Non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, non-access, non-possessiveness, purity, contentment, self-discipline, self-study, surrender. And those are things that are words, but there's so much behind those words, and there's so much application behind these words that I don't sometimes understand how to do that, because I look at the very old text of yoga and they explain it in a way that's maybe not the most relatable to our modern world. And this book is written by a modern person, Deborah Adele, covers these yamas and niyamas in a really good way, how we could still lead this ethical yogic life in the modern world. And yeah, this is a very beautiful book because it's accessible to my understanding right now. It's also very practical. After every yama and niyama, she gives you journaling prompts or weekly challenges that you could do to practice those ethics. And I love this because it gives you that call for action, it gives you that homework. There's also Bhagavad Gita that I have not read, which I am getting to, so let's read it together. This is one of the most ancient texts. How would I recommend to read these books? I feel like with yogic books, it's very helpful to have a copy of them because you want to go through them a lot of times, and I want to have them around, highlight things that stand out to me and contemplate on them. So having them printed as printed copies is something that I find very helpful. So I would recommend that you read it in the mornings or just daily. So helpful for me personally to read these books in the morning, just a little bit, just to remind myself what's important. And when through the day, things yell at you that this is what is requiring your attention right now, you set your tone in the morning of prioritizing that practice, prioritizing your attitude, prioritizing your presence. Also, I wanted to touch upon the fact that we're all different, we're all in different stages, and just because I, for example, recommend you one book, it's not necessarily going to click for you right now. For example, I read this book this summer and it left me feeling good, it was nice. However, it did not make a big impact on my practice. And I came back to this book right now and I'm reading it a second time. It clicks completely differently. I actually find myself understanding it so much more and find myself actually trying actively to practice it every day, all those challenges that are in this book. So it did not click for me the first time, and it might not click for you the first time. You know, you might not finish the book right away. There's time for everything. There is stages in our journey. You can come back to those books. You can continue, you know, digging. Don't go hard on yourself. I feel like consistency is something that I would prioritize when it comes to reading yogic books. And obviously, practicing is the most important part. You can read about it, but it's not going to do anything if you are not using it as your source of inspiration and guidance. Remember to be consistent as well as patient. Let's continue exploring together. This is a beautiful journey. We can help each other, we can guide each other. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, maybe books that you are thinking of reading or you already read that you would recommend. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope it was helpful and I can't wait to see you again. Bye bye.